This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
As technology increases, well, so unfortunately does cybercrime. And today, we're going to arm you with some knowledge to help shield your life's work, your savings, and your identity. I'm Alex Dingman. This is Financial Insanity. And I'm next to, as always, Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. Scott, it is great to see you, my friend. And
you too, buddy.
This is important stuff, man. These scams, we know, are out there, and it just gets worse every year.
It's bad. I'm so glad if you're listening right now, I hope you don't just turn your brain off, but turn it on, because these thieves, they come in the daytime, they come at night, they never stop coming to get your hard-earned dollars. So Alex, let's talk about several different issues. It's really ticking me off, because these people that are grabbing your bank accounts, calling for scams, I'm going to give you some illustrations. I want you to be aware, and it saddens my heart that several of our clients have gotten involved, and I'm going to give you some stories that are real. And I want to help you avoid that, whether you're working with McLean Advisory Group or not. You need to make this stuff real. So, Alex, what do you got? What have you heard about? I mean, this is amazing stuff.
Well, and because the stuff is out there, and there's no point in fighting it. It does exist, and so then it's all about, okay, how are you going to protect yourself? It's going to happen. There is going to be cybercrime. There's always been crime, and then as technology increases, cybercrime comes into the fold. And you know, there's some definitely some things that people can do, though, Scott, and one of those things is around their passwords. Can you give people any advice in regards to passwords, Scott?
You know, I found myself making the same mistake. Passwords seem to be the same. So you kind of want to make sure you have your passwords. I use a thing called LastPass. I'm not encouraging you to buy it, but I bought it. I'm using it. It saves a ton of different passwords with one place. Now, Google has their own password protection. Yeah. Then, of course, a lot of our clients, they have their notebook and notepad, and they keep it there for their kids in case they need it. So whatever system you have a system, but don't use the same password for every account. And it's got to be pretty crazy. For example, if I were to put my name, because I know my name is SCOTT, I might put a S as a $sign, C as maybe a little C with an asterisk. O would be maybe an @ sign or O. T might be the capital T, small t, and maybe I'll put some numbers involved, asterisk 1, 2, and then 3 with the $sign. Something weird that you can remember what it is, and then, of course, write it down in your notebook or get a LastPass type of system, Google, but save these. It's really important. Mm-hmm. This is critical. Some weird numbers, weird calculations. I mean, and if you have to change it. So you guys got to have a change your passwords.
That's good advice. And the number, if you have any questions, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And I know my company, they just gave us some recent advice about maybe use song lyrics, because that's the kind of thing that would be
beautiful.
That'd be super hard for anyone to guess, because it's not anything that's real particular to you. So, just think of a song.
Even smarter than mine.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, that's, we're here for each other, Scott. We build each other up, my friend.
That's because you young kids know how to get around us old dogs.
Yeah. Well, it's important to, hey, you teach me stuff, I teach you stuff, old and new. It definitely comes together and create something beautiful. But, the great thing is too, Scott, if people are suspicious, because one thing is these companies are never going to straight ask you for your password. Now, when you log in, yes, but as far as calling you or texting you for a password, that will not happen. And I know one key thing here, Scott, is just simply asking a person who's calling, when's the last time I called you? And that's something that can really, throw off. Just don't, always just be, and unfortunately, got to be a little suspicious. And this is just about protecting yourself.
That's so true. So I mean, just this morning, I'm at the office around 6:30. I'm making some calls to some clients, but some vendors I was working with. I told them I'd call them early in the morning because they're overseas working with another project I'm working on. And it's funny because I got a call, a text on my machine. Please call me right now. This is about your checking account or credit card account. So I said, well, wow, that's pretty different. So I called in the middle of one of my follow-ups, and I call, who's this? Well, this is Mr. with a foreign accent. I won't be foreign accent because I don't want to insult anybody, but a major foreign accent overseas, and they say some things. And okay, great. Just like you said, when did you call me last? Well, they say, yeah, we spoke last week about your let's say website. We wanted to update it, and I need to get into your website. I'm with Microsoft. I need to get into your website because I see there's a problem. Really, what kind of problem? So I'm going to have a conversation real quick.
Yep.
I know it's a fake deal. If your gut tells you it's a fake deal, it's probably a fake deal. If your gut's telling you, I've never heard this before, don't go along with it. The longer they keep you on the phone, the more they win. If they keep you on the phone, the more they win because they're sucking your brain into it. Maybe this could be like a client that fell into that trap. And I can tell you, I'll give that story in a second. When they fell into the trap, they found out that their grandson was in a car accident, and it could be a dead child. This woman got in a car accident. Called my client, which was the grandfather, and they said, hey, Mr. M, we'll just say Mr. M, this is fake name, let's say Juan, and the reason I'm calling is because your grandson got in a car accident. I don't want you to call anybody. I'd like to settle this right now for $25,000. I will come by your house and pick up $5,000 now. Apparently, the woman had a child in her, and looks like the child will not survive. But your grandson caused the accident. Well, Mr. M, my client, got involved. Now, I've known Mr. M for over 15 years.
Yeah.
He gave him the $5,000, but owed him $20,000. $20,000. But they went to his house. I couldn't even believe this crap. So Mr. M said, okay, I won't tell anybody what's going on. Bottom line, Mr. M calls me and says, Scott, my wife and I are coming down there. I need to pull out $20,000. I said, okay, great. By the way, what is it for? And can I help you? Because nope, I need to have it. Mr. M, I've never heard your voice sound like this before. What's going on? Nothing, Scott. I just need the money. I just need to take it now. I said, how long will it take? I said, it'll take about 3 days to get your money in your hand. Okay, great. Can you process it for me? Yes, I'll tell you what. You need to come in and sign some paperwork. Will you come in? I'll come in right away. He came in right away with his wife, reading their body language. And I've, been in the business for now, 40 plus years, and watching their fear. Tell me what's going on. No, Scott, I'm not allowed to. Oh, you're not allowed to. Why? Well, because I just have to get the money to pay some kind of expense I have to pay. He wasn't telling me.
Yeah.
I've known this guy. He goes to our church. I've known him for years. Everybody knows him. Wonderful, warm guy. And he is saying, Scott, I have to have the money. Finally pulled it out of him. Apparently, I said, did you call the police that your grandson got in a car accident going to the prom and this woman got hurt? He goes, no. I said, well, let's call your son, the father of your grandson. No, I can't call my son. I'm not supposed to tell anybody. Mr. M, we are going to call your son. We are going to call him right now. I'm not going to give you the money. I now have to have my fiduciary responsibility. Either I give you the money and you cannot become a client, or we have to call your son. We called the son and said, by the way, and I was taking care of the call. This is Scott, and I got Mr. M, your dad, on the phone. By the way, and Mr. M, I didn't want him to say a word, and I told him that before the phone call. Mr. M, to the son. By the way, how's your son doing? Did he have fun last night? What did he do? Oh, sure. He came back. Him and his friends went out to play pool with a bunch of friends, and they came back. So he came back. He's fine. No car accidents. Why, Scott? Just want to know if he had a car accident. No, he's fine. You should have seen Mr. and Mrs. M. And if you're out there, IRS, by the way, real quick sidebar, they're not going to call you. It's
Nope.
Whether it's tax season or not. By the way, if it's a firm that's going to be asking for your password, they're not going to ask for your password. If it's somebody that's saying, look, you owe money, we need to get into your computer, don't do it. This subject today, Alex and I were talking about it, is the theft. These guys and gals are smart. The longer you stay on the phone, the more are you in quicksand, and you're going to find yourself buying their bull stuff.
Yep.
You're going to find this bull stuff. Keep it clean on the radio. And if you're out there and if you've been a victim, and I've had several clients victim, and they ask me, Scott, what do I do now? How do we handle it? Well, I'm so glad our clients lean on us. But there's sometimes you just can't get the money back. If you're even entertaining it, wipe it from your brain. That's where the devil gets a leg on your brain. And now you're going to buy into these stories as Mr. M did. And thank goodness all he lost was $5,000. And unfortunately, we called the other people in the neighborhood to see if there's cameras to see if we could have a license plate, but there was none. By the way, guys, they are smart. Don't follow the crowd thinking they're dumb. They're brilliant. Save your money. I can tell you the scams are going to get much worse.
Yep. Well, and that's why Scott and his team, they're here to help you in any facet when it comes to your finances, when it comes to your long-term planning. And this is the kind of thing that, you talked about that story, Scott. You're a great advocate for your folks. You're going to be there. You're going to be listening. You're going to be questioning. And it's all about looking out for folks. And one of those areas is helping to avoid scams. The number 609-488-4646. Again, that number 609-488-4646. And if you ever do have any questions, you're concerned, this email doesn't look right, this number, hey, I've just won the sweepstakes, but all I have to do is pay this little fee. Doesn't that sound great, Scott? If there's anything significant or something that may sound just a little weird, then, don't take it at face value. Give Scott and his team a call, 609-488-4646. Good stuff. We will talk more and more about scams and other ways that we can help protect folks. But right now, we're going to take a pause. This is Financial Insanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
Get all this stuff and you try to put it away like these hoarders on TV. It has an emotional attachment.
So, Scott, you're saying I don't have to keep every single drawing that my son has done? You're saying I could throw some of that away?
The answer is yes. You can take a picture, then throw it out.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Today, we are talking about why it's important to work with an investment advisor who can help you navigate the complex legal and tax landscape. Oh, yeah, it's a lot out there. Remember, if you have any questions, the number 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And Scott, please talk to me a little bit about why it's important to discuss retirement's complex legal and tax issues with an advisor.
I want to drive to Florida.
Okay.
The worst place to drive from New Jersey, Alex, is when you get to that D.C. belt. I think many of you can really relate to the D.C. belt. So frankly, when we're hauling our horses, I actually put the map on. I wake my wife up since I'm driving the 6-horse.
Sure.
I just don't want to. I want to go on the outer belt. Everybody knows what I'm talking about because you get stuck in the middle of the DC traffic. It is a flippin' nightmare. And of course, especially when you're pulling animals. Why do I tell you that? Well, in the preparation, I actually have my GPS set up, and then of course we have water in the stalls. We have hay in the stall. It's a lot of work when you're moving animals from point A to point B. It's a lot of work when you're planning a trip. And when you plan a trip, do you have, in my mind, do I have enough tools to maybe, what if the tires go flat? Who do I call? What if something happens? And it happened to us just last year when it was a terrible accident my daughter and my wife got into.
Right.
But notwithstanding, when you're in preparation for a long trip, by the way, you don't stop. For those of you who are unaware of animals, when you're driving horses, you don't stop. It's about a 16 to 18-hour drive where we're going, and you just keep going. So obviously you take a couple potty breaks, maybe get a little something to eat, but it's a nonstop trip. And the horses, of course, need to get their self set up when they get there. What am I talking about? Planning for a long trip requires strategic planning. You might not think about checking the air and the pressure and oil, maybe checking the all the lube and the car's up to date, the bearings. Every little item could cause a tremendous nightmare. When it comes to retirement, Alex, I'm not sure if you're aware, but when you're taking money out of your retirement income, that's the tax return. When you're planning to pull money out, it's all of the investments, whether they're IRAs or 401ks or 403bs, whether they're your non-qualified money, meaning non-qualified money that is taxed differently, long-term capital gains, short-term capital gains. When you invest in the world of investments, you're investing in either ETFs or mutual funds or stocks, depending which, of course, is the lowest price, lowest fee. And then, of course, you're looking at how do I now put all of this together and to design a plan where in the first phase of retirement, I call it the go-go years. You're going to screw up in the go-go years, Alex, but that's part of the financial planning process.
Sure.
Which could lead your money to a mousetrap, which is what I put in my book. The financial planning process can lead your money to a mousetrap. What I mean? Not paying attention to taxes, not paying attention to the legal ramifications, and then not paying attention to when you're pulling money out. How is it structured? You know, if you're going through that right now, I think about this all the time, Alex. I would love to speak to you off the air. I've been doing this now. I think it's the 43rd year of my industry, my business. I've been involved. I am still good looking. I may be a lot older, but I can tell you, when it comes to retirement or planning your retirement, 609-488-4646 could be the best number you could ever had. Why? Well, 609-488-4646. That phone number could ask me questions off the air. No cost. We don't charge. We've been this nonprofit radio station for so many years at WBNJ, and the reason we're here is because all we do is offer educational information for you. So when you're in retirement and planning your retirement, you, of course, have a resource center to go to. How do I do this? And what I find in my world of financial planning as a mousetrap, I talk about as the financial planning leads your money to a mousetrap, how do we put all of this together? There's nothing worse than making a cake and leaving the wrong ingredient out or too much salt. It ruins everything. And so when you think about a financial advisor, did the financial advisor look at the tax ramifications, the legal ramifications, and the investment ramifications? Because this could be a real trap that you don't even know you're in. So I'd love to be able to speak to anybody. If you have questions right now, I have answers, 609-488-4646. But notwithstanding, I think, Alex, when we talk about the the go-go years, you're going to be blowing a lot of money. I mean, you go down to when you're taking a trip to Florida, you're going to spend money in gas. If you're really frugal like me, you try to find the best gas price. You want to make sure is it big enough to turn around this big trailer if you're doing that. Or for those of you in a speed race car, you want to make sure. I don't know how these people are going to be doing these electric cars. You got to stop every so many miles. But I want to keep going. But looking at retirement, Alex, if you're not paying attention, the financial advisor is not looking at the whole picture. It would be like going to a doctor. Alex, let me give you an example of you out there.
Yeah.
Alex comes to me. I'm Dr. McLean. And Alex says, well, Scott, I've been having these headaches for the past 5 years coming to you. Do you think, and Alex says, Scott, do you think I should get an MRI? And if I said to Alex, that's a good idea. Scott, Alex then says to me, Scott, do you think I should get a EKG and maybe a blood test and urine test? And what do you think? And I say, Alex, that's a great idea. If you didn't fire me immediately, then you're just double dumb. What I mean? If the advisor is not asking deep questions like, do you have a special needs son or daughter? Oh, they're Down syndrome? And they live with you, and how do you plan on taking care of them? That's not a financial discussion, but it really is. How is the child going to be taken care of? These questions are really deep, and they will be part of your retirement. I know you're probably thinking, if you're listening right now, well, what's that got to do with retirement? Everything. Again, when you're taking that trip from New Jersey to Florida, and you want to avoid the DC roundabout, well, you need to really be on your game. So in the early years, it's a go-go years. You might be spending a little bit more money, but having somebody hold you accountable. Then you got the slow go years. You don't want to do as much. You did it. You done it. Maybe you don't want to do it again. And so maybe your spending is a little bit less. And then the no-go years. No, I don't want to do it. Go have fun, kids. Here's a couple bucks. Enjoy life. How is your money spent down? What is the game plan? And this is not a set it and forget it deal. This is almost like going to the masseuse every year because you need a tune-up, or maybe the chiropractor, to making sure your money is in a good place.
Absolutely. 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. And with just a couple minutes we have left here in this segment, Scott, it's not just about picking the right investments. You have to consider a lot of factors, tax consequences, your estate plan. There's just a lot there to it. And to your point, like a successful road trip, a lot of details, and better to talk to somebody who's been on that trip before than going into it blind for the first time.
And one thing we didn't even bring up, which was healthcare. Yep. That's another left hook right around the corner, let alone your spouse getting sick or disabled. How are we spending money down? Do we open up a trust? How do we hide our money, or I should say reposition our money, so the estate doesn't get squandered away? And then, of course, the nursing care facility gets it out. Now we can use the Medicare, Medicaid planning and hide assets to protect it for who? The children, the wife, the husband. How do we do that? And so when people give us a call at our office, I'd love to take your call at 609-488-4646. By the way, that's our website, just add.com. I'll help you or guide you, try to give you some kind of ideas. And I can tell you the time we spend together will be very valuable for you, not for Scott, for you. I've done this for so long, and I love what I do. I love guiding people. I love more when you hear the information and then you take action. There's nothing worse than these educated dummies who has all this knowledge but never apply it. 609-488-4646. I'd love to talk to you off the air.
And Scott, really important question, the most important question you get all day. What does a bee use to brush its hair?
A bee?
Yeah.
Bumblebee.
Like a bumblebee. What does it use to brush its little hair?
I don't know.
A honeycomb.
Yeah. Dude, are you drinking?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
No. It's pure gold.
I love it.
609-488-4646 is the number. 609-488-4646. Just add a.com. And real quickly here, about a minute left, but they might get the pleasure of hearing Bonnie on the other end. I know Bonnie is huge to what you do over there. And she's somebody, if you don't get a hold of Scott when you call, Bonnie will point you in the right direction, right?
She will do it. She takes care of my books. She is amazing. And I can tell you, if ever people come into our office, and you want to get more information, I'd love to get your hands on my book, The Three Blind Mice, How the Financial Planning Process Leads Your Money. It's totally complimentary. You come visit with me. That's my gift to you. If you like to read, just don't take it because it's not made for firewood, but it's made to fire you up to get your finances in order.
609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. Just add a .com for the website. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about how to navigate through the complex legal and tax landscape in retirement. Don't go anywhere.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Retirement planning, investment planning is a two-way street. It's got to meet. I need to understand the good, bad, and ugly you've been through so we can avoid those issues. This, to me, is very important.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Today, we are talking about why it is so important to work with an investment advisor who can help you navigate the complex legal and tax landscape. Remember, if you have any questions, the number is 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. I'm Alex Dingman, here with the more important member of the show, Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. And Scott, I know we were talking here just about really equating getting ready for retirement a lot like a big road trip. And I thought you had a great analogy. If you just recap again, the road trips that you take here with your horses down to Florida, and what does that have to do with planning for retirement, Scott?
As you plan a road trip, whether you're taking animals or not, it requires a lot of work. And I was talking about before, when you're taking these horses and you're pulling behind the truck, you want to make sure everything's all set up. Animals, the hay, the feed, the water, it's a nonstop trip. It's 18 hours. It's a long trip. It's an arduous trip. And all of a sudden you get a flat tire. Do I have tools? And thinking of every possible indication that could slow your trip down or cause your trip to turn into a catastrophe. Same thing as retirement. And so when I think about all the tax and legal issues where I think a lot of people are just absolutely not paying attention to it, all of a sudden you're doing well and you or your lovely spouse are having a wonderful time. You take a trip, you come back, you're out the golf course and you swing the ball, you hit the ball, whatever it is. And as you can tell, I'm not a golfer. and all of a sudden you wake up the next day and you're sore. And find out that maybe your blood count's changing, your white counts are changing. Do I have my wife? Can she call because I go to the doctor? Who's the power of attorney for healthcare matters? Just because you're married, she's not or he is not the one in charge. Or maybe your partner. They're not in charge unless you have a document called Power of Attorney for Healthcare Matters. Now, why is this important to the finances? As a fiduciary in our firm, I want to make sure my people that I work with, my clients are buttoned up I need just ironclad buttoned up. I want to see the will, power of attorney, living will, healthcare directive. Maybe you need a trust. Maybe you need a special needs trust. Maybe you've got some knucklehead kids that if you gave them $1, they're going to spend $4. Maybe you need a trust that'll delineate or pay out the money on a monthly basis. This is so, so important. By forgetting the taxes is like not filling up the tank all the way to the top, and you have to make unforeseen stops. You can't make unforeseen stops. Or maybe making sure the tires are inflated on this long trip, but you're not paying attention to the tires, and now you're getting worse gas mileage, and you could have a blowout, which could cause your trip from 17 hours to 24 hours. Or maybe you're not paying attention to the legal matters. What happens? God calls you home. Who gets your money? And maybe you have a ex-spouse as a beneficiary you forgot to change when you got remarried. Again, another legal battle just set up down the road. Or maybe you're just sitting there and you think about all the legal aspects and tax aspects, and you pass money on to the children or to the grandchildren. How is that taxable? Can I avoid taxes? Alex, I don't know about you, but if you're not paying attention as a fiduciary for the financial areas, I believe, in my mind, as the three blind mice, they need to talk to each other. The three blind mice would be your accountant, your financial advisor, and of course your legal. Whether they get together or not, the advisor, I believe, should be the quarterback. He should look at the whole play and then guide as you're going on this journey called retirement. What if this happens? How is it taken care of? What if your lights start to go dim and now you got to go to a nursing home? How does that take place? What are the taxes involved if you have to pull extra money out? Should I put money into a trust? If you're thinking about those questions, well, give yourself a hand. Give yourself a clap. Because if you're thinking about it now, take action. There's nothing worse than brilliant people taking no action. I call them double dumb. Don't be double dumb. Take action. When people give us a call at our studios and ask questions at 609-488-4646, when they ask these questions, Alex, and they give us a call or they go to our website at 609-488-4646.com, we've got some neat things that we're adding to our site to help you think through this. I call it the love affair of finances. Your will or your legal documents, your financial documents, and then your tax documents. They must be looked together almost like, as I say in my book, I talk of the composer. Well, the composer is one. Now we've got the conductor who's going to take the composer's music, go to the wonderful orchestra, and now let's play this beautiful music. Or could it be a disastrous music and it doesn't play out? I can tell you, as a musician, one wrong note can be picked up by everybody. One wrong note in your financial plan could be picked up by the crows and the clowns that show up at the funeral.
Yeah.
Do you have them in your life? I guarantee they're there somewhere. 609-488-4646. Write that number down for yourself. If you have questions, I have answers. And if I don't have answers, not act like a smarty pants, I guarantee you I can call so many people at the push of a button. I can call brilliant people that can answer some questions or get answers for you, because there's nothing worse than going into retirement or going into a long trip and not prepared. This is a nightmare.
Well, and truly smart people surround themselves with even smarter people like you just talked about. And so Scott can be that for you, for your finances. 609-488-4646. Now, Scott's one thing that's very important, and I know you do this, but making sure that you have an advisor who's keeping up with the latest legal and tax changes that could affect your investments, because it's not a set it and forget it. It's not a, well, this was right 10, 20 years ago, I'm sure everything is fine. No, you got to have somebody like Scott McLean there looking at these things and making sure that the right choices are being made at the right times.
You could have said that any better. I think the IRS, this is not a laughing matter, even though the IRS, sometimes people get scared. I think the key is an IRS starts knocking on your door for unpaid taxes or penalty, or now we're in probate. Now we have to pay a whole bunch more money when you could have maybe had set your estate up to be as probate free as possible. Or maybe you don't have the legal documents and your spouse, your child, maybe they don't have a power of attorney, and now you've got to make decisions. By not paying attention to those details, not only causes your car to go off the road, or I should say your finances to go off the road, but it also, this undue stress and worry. I wonder, some of you may be going through a health issue. And if you're going through a health issue right now, I can pray for you. But on top of a health issue, let me get to the nitty gritty. Do you have a power of attorney? Do you have a backup power of attorney for healthcare matters and or financial matters? Both. There's two different types. And by not paying attention to, I believe, the financial advisor's job, I believe, or I take it personally, if I don't know all about my clients and know what to do if their lights go dim or maybe they go out, or maybe there's a child that maybe we need to protect from money going to the child, we need to open up a trust account. How do I protect this money that's been endowed to me to protect them as a fiduciary? How can I make sure the best of my ability and capability to educate a client in these areas? And my clients are my friends. Am I doing the very best to make sure that you are buttoned up in these areas? And if not, it is my job, I believe personally, to call your lawyer. Hey, I've noticed this in the agreement. How come there's not a backup to the power of attorney? How come there's not a backup to the executor? I hear the daughter is Down syndrome. How come you don't have a special needs trust planned inside the estate? And when I see this, it's almost like all the advisors today, most of them, not all of them, just want to say, what can I get? Not how can I help? How can I get something out of you? Oh, and they push it off. Like Daddy always said, don't push off a problem when you can handle it.
Yep.
Well, let's call this guy, let him handle it. No, it should be the quarterback, the financial guy or gal in your life that would make those calls, because chances are you don't know the questions you're asking, but the financial person involved should know those questions.
609-488-4646 if you have questions. The number for Scott and his team, 609-488-4646. Just a couple moments left, but I wanted you to hit on something because you were talking and going through the different details that someone must think about. And a lot of the stuff, it's not fun to think about. You don't want to think about having a plan for your health problems in the future. I want to talk about going on a trip. Those are the kind of things. But what you can do, Scott, is you can step in, and because sometimes when we're talking about our own money or our own lives, our heart can get in the way of our own head. Meaning, what we care about and when we want something to be true, and sometimes that can mask what we should be doing. And that's where you can step in, Scott, and not that you're heartless. I know you care about everybody that you're dealing with, but you can also look at things critically and think about, okay, what makes the most sense? What's the smartest thing here? What's going to have the least amount of bad consequences? And sometimes you have to step in and say, hey, I know this is really important to you, and I know why it is. Let me explain to you here why this is an alternative way to think about things that could actually be better for you in the long run.
The questions I ask people, or my advisors ask people, are questions that you might have thought about but kind of push it away because it's too hard to think about. Like maybe your spouse's lights are going dim. Maybe they have to go to a nursing home. Do you take them home or not? How do I handle it? How do I handle the money? These are really, really questions that it hits your heart and you don't want to face it. And I'd rather bring it out up front versus wait until the last minute and causing more trouble, more problems later. So you've got to ask these hard questions. For example, let's say you have a son or a daughter, and if they inherit your money, are they going to blow it? Or maybe they've got a wife, or I should say a spouse, a husband or wife, a spouse that you lost your relationship with your son or daughter because the spouse pulled you away from your child. How do you pass the money on? These are real questions that you don't want to talk about because this is really close to heart. And you kind of get, I've had people come to my office, Alex, and we talk about these areas because, again, it's about your money and buttoning up your estate. But again, we've got to ask deep questions. And how do we pass the money on? And all of a sudden you have an estranged child because of a spouse, possibly. Or maybe they have a special needs son or daughter, because we handle a lot of that. And all of a sudden they have their estate set up wrong. You pass away, your wife, your spouse passes away. The money goes to your son, but your son passed away. Now, how does that money go down? Do you want it to go to the spouse or your children? Well, maybe you need a testamentary trust to make sure it goes to the child, and maybe a different trustee, because you maybe don't want the spouses to handle it. You want someone else because they could get remarried and now your money goes to the new family. These are questions you don't want to think about. No one wants to talk about your kids passing. By the way, it happened in my family. You guys understand, I've been through some challenges that I'm able to take from my life experiences, put it inside of my financial practice, and help who? Help those of you listening right now. Because when you've been through a bump in the road, well, maybe you just know how to avoid that bump for someone else. And they don't have to go through the anxiety, stress, excessive taxes, and the crows and the clowns that eventually shows up at the funeral. That's chapter 11 of our book, Alex. If you want chapter 11, I'll email to you. Call Bonnie, 609-488-4646. Ask for chapter 11. We can email it to you today with totally no cost, no obligation. I just give Bonnie a call, 609-488-4646, and say, Bonnie, I'd like to read chapter 6 of Scott's book. I'm not a good reader, but I'd like to read that. I can tell you, you will love it. You'll hear my life experiences and action steps that you can apply today, not tomorrow. Don't be double done with all this knowledge. Take action. Don't put it off.
More financial insanity with Scott McLean on the way.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend. And so when the chicken pops out the eggs, if you don't need the money, let's reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens.
Man, that's just an excellent analogy, Scott.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
McLean Advisory Group is so thankful for our veterans and the sacrifices they've made over the years. We're going to talk today about some programs aiming to help these great veterans with daily activities, medical expenses, and more. Financial insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity. I'm Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean.
That's right.
Today, we have a good friend of his, Robert Brown, retired Navy veteran for over 20 years. He was a chief petty officer for the Persian Gulf, and now Veterans Service Officer, helping folks. Robert, thank you so much for serving this great country and for continuing to help folks find those great benefits.
My pleasure.
That is awesome. And Scott, I know you guys have quite the history, and you like each other a little bit. You work together, you like each other, and that's a good mix, right, Scott?
Once in a while.
It is a good mix. His wife's beautiful family, took his family out on the boat. We just had some fun together. So the neatest thing is how it started as we were helping our veterans. I took a class, as I mentioned in our previous show, about the aid and attendance pension benefit, which that benefit, for whether you're in a nursing home or you're at home, I mean, that benefit is really, really beneficial. My daddy was served in Korea. My grandfather served in World War II, and I am a 4F, not a Dodger. I'm a 4F. In other words, words, I didn't qualify because of surgeries on my body before when I tried to go in, but that was a rule in the McLean house. But notwithstanding, the aid and attendance benefit on our previous show talked about could you get benefits whether you're at home or not because you're sick or disabled, or maybe you need to go into the facility like Vineland, Paramus, Menlo Park. There's great facility. One of the best ones, I believe, in New Jersey is Vineland. But this program today, we spoke about that as a previous program, but this program today is for our veterans that serve. And there's two types of benefits, the two types of benefits that Robert is very well of. And Robert is 100% disabled veteran benefit, not because he's ugly and I'm better looking, but because he's actually, this is not textbook, this is real world. And of course, the lawyer in our office also is 100% disabled benefit, getting these wonderful benefits. There's a connected benefit, service connected benefit, and there's a non-service connected benefit. And Robert, if we looked at the service connected versus non-service, we talk about the aid and attendance benefit, which is a wonderful benefit for those of you or your parents. You need to know about it. You need to ask us. And by the way, if you don't know about that, the number is 609-488-4646. Please feel free to give our studios a call if you have any questions. We'll get you in touch with Robert or someone that can handle your calls. If I'm busy, I don't want to miss your call. 609-488-4646. But Alex, we're talking about this connected benefits. Rob, there's two types of benefits. Let's give a summary of this other benefit we talk about. Well, you see on TV all the time this benefit down in Camp Lejeune. We've been doing this thing for how many years, Robert? Since 2008.
Sure, a long time.
And I have one of our gentlemen in our church who has spina bifida, which comes from the water, Camp Lejeune, and he, as child of a veteran, didn't know he qualified. And when I mentioned to him, he says, "I don't believe it." And so, of course, now he believes it. Robert, there's a lot of benefits. Let's go ahead and break it down as quick as you can as we think about this great benefit.
Okay. So generally the way this works is if you wore a uniform for some period of time, however long that was, and you got injured doing anything, it could have been your hand, your finger, your eye, your leg, your knee, what have you, and that's recorded somewhere in your medical record, then you report that. The big question to the VA before they'll pay you any compensation, this is the term, it's not a pension. This form is called a compensation. Before they pay you any compensation of money, they have to figure out, did this happen when you're in uniform, while you were active duty, or did it not? So if you were out of service and discharged, and you got in a car accident, it's, quote, a non-service connected issue, and the VA will not pay that. So it had to have happened or started, or at least exacerbated while you were in the service in the uniform. So is this a service connected benefit? That's what has to be determined first. And the VA does a process to figure that out. Once that's done, they say, okay, here's your problem. I understand. I'm going to send you to a third-party adjudicator to confirm the severity of that problem. If it's hearing, again, if it's a broken leg, what have you, and where do we go from there? Is it a recurring problem, or is it a problem that's been fixed and now you're 100% better? Again, no compensation. But if there's still an existing issue, then the VA will pay this compensation of a certain percentage, equating to a certain amount of dollars every single month, again, tax-free.
And Scott, you've been helping people with their finances for over 40 years, but also very importantly, since 2008, you've been specifically helping people with their benefits if they're veterans, as you opened up the Veterans Benefit Advisory Group back in 2008. And we're talking today with Robert Brown, retired Navy Chief Petty Officer, served for 20 years, and now is a Veterans Service Officer. And guys, we have a few minutes left, and I know we're talking about some known benefits, some unknown benefits. What maybe are some other benefits or opportunities for folks that people should know about?
Well, there's a number of them. Some of them are, if you wanted dental care, you can get that. Not necessarily a particular benefit, but a benefit from having served. If you had dental issues, you can apply for a certificate of eligibility for a home loan. There are burial benefits that many people don't know about, as far as funeral services, costs incurred, the veterans cemetery, the plot, the grave marker, some of those. There's a spousal benefit that you can get for the spouses of the veteran who passed away. Again, a monthly basis for payment of that. Surviving spouse benefit, they called. Or there's dependent education benefits for the children of some of those veterans. For example, my daughter is going to Stockton University as a, quote, cut rate because the VA pays part of her education based upon my disability. So she's the recipient of my service and gets those benefits for her college education. So So spouse, dependent education benefits there. My wife could go to school if she would choose to because of the disability status that I'm at. And again, all of this is a monthly benefit, non-taxable. You don't talk about it to the accountants.
And Robert, I want to interject real quick because I think it's very important. The number 609-488-4646. But the point that this is great information for veterans, but also veterans' families as well. That's something for folks that are listening out there. There's opportunities for the families of veterans also. Again, that number is 609-488-4646. Robert, Scott, please continue. Got a couple moments left here. Very important stuff.
Couple things that hit my mind that I don't think we brought up. I can't find my dad's records. I can't find the DD-214. I don't know what to do. Robert, what do they do? Because this is a reason not to follow up because you don't know what to do. B, a reason to put it off and maybe I'll get to it later. It's almost like putting your Christmas tree up on December 24th because you don't have any money. Well, that's what I did when I was broke. But this is different. This is a benefit for life. Robert, I can't find the records. What do we do?
Okay, so to answer that really is talk to me. All right, tell me what you know and tell me what you don't know. And I say that because if you don't know how to get your record, and again, this could be the military discharge document, DD-214, or the War Department, the WD document, or it could be I don't have medical records from when I was in. I was in Agent Orange, and when we got discharged, we just sent us home, and I wanted to get out of the Vietnam, so I just left. I never got my records, my medical records, to prove any of my disability, so we could start from there. The answer is come and talk to us. I know exactly where we submit to. I know the documents to submit for. We just do a couple of documents, submit it, it comes in the mail, and we begin. So if you don't have documents, that's okay. We'll get them. And it's as simple as that. We know where to lead everyone to get this benefit. You start with that, you need the foundation, then we proceed forward with an application and submission.
I think the worst thing I find out with veterans, being in this business now 40 plus years, my dad did pass away within 5 days when he had leukemia. Mom passed away in 3 months. And we never went for the benefit. I frankly never knew about this benefit until I was invited to school. I thought there was a scam, and they said, well, you pay $2,500, come to our school, learn about these benefits. I really honestly thought it was a scam. Dave Conley, one of our attorneys that we work with on estate planning, said, Scotty, what's $2,500 when you can help vets? And he always calls me a draft dodger, even though I wasn't, because I was 4F'd.
Yeah, the good friends give you the hardest time. That's for sure.
They do. They are. We've been together since 1984, Dave Conley and I. And the funniest thing, the wonderful most thing is I did go to school and I said, holy mackerel, every financial advisor should be asking the question, are you a veteran? Was your husband or wife a veteran? Maybe they passed away. Was your mom and dad a veteran? This is part of the estate planning process, Alex. As I meet with people, I'm asking lots of questions. They're asking, why are you asking these questions? Because I'm looking for benefits they are totally unaware of. I'm looking to reduce taxes, the best benefit. I'm looking to make their life much more pleasant. So when they retire, they don't worry about running out of money. They enjoy their lifestyle. And that's why I added this veterans benefit in there, because they didn't take me, Alex. And I felt guilty because that's the whole thing in the McLeans. All the McLeans have to join. That was the rule. And they didn't take me. And I frankly was scared to call my dad, saying they turned me down. They 4F'd me.
Sure.
But the moment I told him, I applied to every single facility, whether the Army, Navy, Marines, which I went for first. Every one of them turned me down. I didn't know they shared records. And then all of a sudden, I was afraid to call my dad. When I called him, he said, okay, son, no big deal. I thought I was going to get drilled down, because his goal in the family was to drill down people to find out the best way possible. Now, Robert, as we close on this subject, as a veteran, you've seen people apply, you've seen people get denied. And then they say, well, I applied, I did it myself, and I didn't get approved. And because they didn't get help. What do you say?
Well, first of all, I say you may not have completed every single document in every single line entry that the VA wants. So they don't explain the discrepancy on your document. They just send it back and say, sorry, not approved. So it becomes very important to know exactly what forms to fill out, exactly where to sign, how to answer the questions in order to get approved at the VA level. And based upon expertise here, that's how you get it through. We've had one claim who got approved, and Scott could verify, from start to finish in 10 days.
That was a miracle, though. That was
10
days.
days.
Don't expect
Phenomenal.
that, guys. This was a miracle. I told you very clearly, but that was wonderful.
It was.
Well,
She started coming in. The wife came in. The husband's like,
A Marine
his
Corps
noodles went. The Marine Corps vet. His noodles went south. He was getting flashbacks. He came in. She was crying. Didn't know what to do. They were burning cash. They were going to the nursing home. She came in from hearing me from other people. She came in within. And I will tell you this, I don't know how it happened so quick. I've never seen it, but it is out there. It is real as long as you do it correct, guys.
Yep.
Alex?
Yep. Thank you.
And you need some guidance. And that's really what we're out here for. We're to guide you to where you need to be based upon your service and your commitment in military.
Thank you.
And that's where it is. And again, serving vets is ideal and in my heart every single day.
Thank you so much for that. Great way to close. And again, if you need help, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Great guest today, Veteran Service Officer Robert Brown. Robert, again, thank you for being a guest today. More importantly, thank you for serving our nation.
You're welcome.
Thanks, buddy.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.